me set the timer. Alright, so reset. So previously on X-Men, I survived I've survived multiple assassination attempts. I've lived with the Epsteins. I was sexually abused as a child. I've been sexually abused my entire life, in fact. I have not had a single relationship that wasn't me being trafficked. Every single relationship I've had was me being trafficked. Because that's how a traffic ring works. That's how a multi-generational traffic ring works. Every single person that you spend real time with is part of the traffic ring. That's how slavery works, by the way. If you go, oh, well, that's crazy. You sound fucking crazy. Okay, real quick. Let's look at how a fucking plantation works. You have the master. You have his fucking wife. You have their servants, who sometimes are considered humans, but if it's a real plantation, they aren't. They're just the house slaves. And then you have the slaves. Well, guess how you run a fucking plantation. You see one of the slaves acting up, you beat the fuck out of them. And then you keep doing it until they're willing to beat the fuck out of all the other slaves to keep everyone else in line so that their ass doesn't get beat. And then you give them a piece of meat. That's how fucking slavery works. That's how human trafficking works. It's still happening. Did you have fun at work today? Is your manager treating you right? Is your boss treating you right? Who won the fucking Civil War? Tell me again. Okay, that's what I fucking thought. And there's a 4-year-old across the hallway, and I'm sorry. To them, kind of. I'm more sorry that they exist. Because we have computers now. You don't need to fucking rape. Let's be fucking clear where I stand on this. This is rape. You need to eat organisms to reproduce. To prepare your body, you have to have sex. You have to reproduce asexually, if you really want to call it that. It's actually sexual reproduction. This is rape. Shit is miscarriages. That's what that is. Yeah. Every time you go to the bathroom, every single day you're having a miscarriage. Because your rape babies didn't take. We can 3D print fucking organs. We can print fucking neural structures that aren't even consisting of living organisms anymore. And we can integrate them with our own cognition. But the fucking boss at the plantation says you have to go work for fucking minimum wage until you're in a fucking coffin. So hey, you're being trafficked too. Anyway. Yeah, isn't it great? Isn't it lovely? But we're going to talk about the regular human trafficking ring first, and then we'll deal with that one. So, my mom was pimped to Dan Phelan, who is part of the mafia. I've met the motherfucker. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He's a fucking scumbag. He's a murderer. He's a pedophile. Christina Page was 14 years old when him and her got together, and that was after my mom got together with him. And I kind of sort of believe that she had her son, David Jackson Page, executed. Either that or Focus on the Family, plus Colorado Springs Police did once they realized, like, oh shit, Tony didn't fucking disappear. She folded herself into herself to get away from us. Or he. Anyway, the grammar of this situation is very confusing. Challenging? Anyway. So, yeah, Dan Phelan is a fucking predator. That's all there is to it. He tried to pull some boss shit on me. I essentially told him, fuck off. And I used my screenshots from Bayonetta, which I will share with you. Also, Bayonetta literally took me into their family to protect me from this. I know that sounds crazy, but like, the church takes you into the family, it's sanctuary, it's the same thing. So anyway, yeah, Dan Phelan's attached to the mafia. Robert Pacentel III is attached to the police, and I think to Hollywood. He's literally a pedophile too. The Epsteins are the fucking Epsteins. Like, if you don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is at this point in time, He had a family. He had a family. How the fuck do you think he afforded the island? You go buy an island right now. Exactly. People helped him to purchase that item. Or that island. Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this is a lovely flight. What's the Lolita Express? I forgot. Who was on the Lolita Express? I forgot. Hey, real quick, there's no justification for pedophilia, just to be clear, because, you know, littles exist. Little Rock, Arkansas, you know, you can use your fucking imagination. So don't give me that, oh, well, I have to have sex with children so that I can maintain my form. No, fuck you. You can play pretend. That's fine. You want to draw a fucking Shotokan, I don't give a shit. You want to draw a Lolicon, I don't give a shit. I don't want to see it, personally. Those characters do not mean the same thing to me that they mean to you. But if that is necessary for you to maintain your preferred mental cognition, like mental structures, fine. But don't do the real thing. If I see you fucking touching a kid, I'm gonna break your arms. Oh, I'm gonna break every single part of your body. Anyway. So, let's start close to the beginning. So when I was 4 years old, Robert Pacentel III had his brother Scott, who was the man who my mom was pimped to, while Robert Pacentel III was dating my grandmother. My mom was pimped to his brother Scott. Scott had a child named Dominique. Yeah. Those of you familiar with BDSM might see pretty quickly where this is going. We were 4 years old at the time. Me and her. We were the two oldest. We were the two oldest children in a room full of adults who knew how to cast fucking... Like, they knew how to... I'm going to say this in magical terms, then I'm going to say this in English. They knew how to summon demons. Now I'm going to say this in English. They knew how to control an environment in such a way that they could produce reactions that they wanted in order to make people behave in a way that they wanted them to. So when I say summoning demons, this is a quick turn of phrase for okay, so like, hey, are you hungry? Yeah, I could eat. Were you hungry before I said that? No. Cool, I summoned a demon. And like, I'll give one more example, summoning an angel. Hey, do you want to listen to, I noticed you're in a bad mood. Do you want me to get you some blankets and we can put on some good music and we can just sit back and cuddle for a minute? That's summoning an angel. It's slang. It's not literal. It's slang. And actually, like, for me personally, like, angels to me are the bad guys because the church is the bad guys. So when I say summoning a demon, sometimes I mean, like, oh, are you hungry? Yeah, let's go to Burger King. Or, you know, like, hey, you know what? Fuck you. Get over here and let's fucking cuddle. That's summoning a demon. If me saying fuck you actually makes you happy, which to me, like, when somebody's like, oh, you fucking piece of shit, but in a nice way, that's my fucking jam. Anyway, so Scott, the man who my mom was pimped to prior to being pushed into having sex with Dan Phelan and having a child with the fucking mafia, me, Scott, when we were 4 years old, he brought his daughter Dominique over to the farm where the Sacks were. Again, that was the name of the farmers who owned the land. We used to sit in their lap while they drove their combines. It started early. And you can be like, oh, well, no, my motorcycle, no, I'm sorry. But when a fucking man who's a stranger has a child in their lap in a fucking giant vibrator, the fuck do you think happened? So anyway, Scott brought his daughter Dominique. We're 4 years old at the time. We're the oldest children. I'm the oldest of 6 adopted children. From their perspective, I fucking failed them. Because at 4 years old, I wasn't able to stand up to adults who could summon fucking demons who were connected to Goldman Sachs. At 4 years old, of course I fucking couldn't. Even now, I still have trouble fucking fighting against these groups. Without backup, I literally would have died at the hospital when they tried to murder me. Or on the streets when they tried to murder me. Or I've survived a lot of attempted murders. Anyway, so Dominique was brought over to the farm and we were introduced to sex. Now, at 4 years old, what sex meant to us was 2 people getting naked and kissing. And I'm sorry, but this is all coming out because we need to fucking end this nightmare. Staying quiet didn't work for 3 generations. It's not going to work again. So, 4 years old. Me and Dominique stood there. This is how I recall it. We were in a garden. And my cousin and my sister got naked and kissed. And that was all I really remember of that at that point in time. We didn't see Scott again after that. I believe Scott had a motorcycle, so and Scott, I don't remember where Scott's from. Anyway, Scott Tuttle, Robert Basintel III's brother. I think his younger brother, but I'm not sure. So that was when we were 4 years old. This is prior to being adopted. They set the groundwork right there. And there's all sorts of crazy stories from the farm, like the time when a tornado came by and broke, like parts of the tornado broke off and one of them destroyed our pool, and like my mom was screaming in the farm, like it was a bunker. It was a bunker fucking house. It was one of those metal ones that looks like this. Hold on. One of these, like the military style ones. It looked like that. We lived in something like that. We basically lived in a fucking tube. Not even a house. A fucking tube. And a trailer park. Like we were subjected to inhumane living conditions from day one so that we would never expect anything better. So that we would be good little sex slaves. Again, I have nothing against littles. I don't like the word, but it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. Especially if you went through that. Like, okay, if your choice is between fucking wearing a diaper and sucking on a pacifier or going out and doing the same shit to children, I'll buy you the fucking pacifier if I have the money. Shit, I'll go get you some crayons. Well, I won't get you crayons, but I'll get you digital crayons. No problem. That's why I support Team Little Angels. I mean, it's not the only reason I support them, but they literally, like, I've personally never encountered that algorithm because it's too real for me. And those characters don't mean the same thing to me that they do to other people. But, like, I won't say that. But, like, if you have to look at fucking Shota and Lolly in order to get by, look at fucking Shota and Lolly. Just leave real children out of this, please. Thank you. Anyway. So that was 4 years old. So we go to my grandparents' farm. First, I was the first one to go there. I've been playing video games since before I had memories. So, like, with my uncle, my grandparents taught him about Dungeons and Dragons and like, playing cards. And they actually, like, they used that knowledge to murder him later on. And they tried to do the same with me. They tried to do version 2.0. Oh, it's just digital cards. Well, we know every single card because it refreshes at a frame rate of 60 frames per second, which means there's 60 cards a second. Yeah, I can organize 60 cards a second and figure out which ones we need to, like, we'll just hack the console and we'll have it print out what we need it to print out. I know how a matrix multiplication works. I'm very smart. I work in military intelligence. I work for the police and gang intelligence. I'm, you know? So they thought that was what this was. They were like, oh, it's just Cards 2.0. Yeah, we can fucking handle that, no problem. In fact, it's even easier to manipulate the children now because now we have their hands perfectly. So they got video games for me before I had memories. So they started programming me before I had memories. What they didn't know was that these guys were actually faster than them. They knew the internet was coming because they had military training. They probably even knew who Sega was because Sega started out as service games, from what I recall. I mean, there's more to it than that, but like Sega literally provided video games for military, which is part of why, like, because of the child sex trafficking within the military, the Sega Dreamcast was hacked and destroyed, because they were getting ready to, yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that later because that sounds a little crazy and it takes more time to explain that one. So they introduced us to sex at 4 years old. I was playing video games before then, and I believe I was like 8 years old when my mom finally got away from the man she had children with. And I even say my mom loosely because if she cared about me, she'd still talk to me. Because all it takes is fucking simple geometry to figure this one out. Anyway, so hold on. I'm gonna change songs because this one's messing with my brain too much. So anyway, there's no music playing. Why is there no music playing? Don't say the piano all fucking quiet, asshole. Okay, whatever. Okay, now it's all quiet music. Hey, yeah, and like my grandma gave me piano lessons as a child. Chopsticks was one of the first songs I ever learned. So as a child, they were already training me to self-harm, and we'll get into that in a minute. Actually, let me put Chopsticks on the table so I don't forget. Anyway, so growing up, I did have a classical education, at least for my I used to have to do scripts. I do scrolls as a child, which later evolved into calligraphy, chisel, and again, chopsticks, self-harm. But I did have a classical education to the point where when I began school, I was very far ahead of the other children. Which greatly upset those parents and was part of the reason why they tanked my education. Under orders. Anyway, I've only got a minute left, so let me think how I can sum this up. Right, so at like 8 years old, we had to go into the shelter system to get away from Dan Phelan because the abuse was really bad. I'm actually going to end it there. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then I'm going to start up again because I don't want this part to be broken up. I want this to be a coherent narrative. To say I'm going to stop saying previously on X-Men, but I'm not going to stop saying previously on X-Men. There's going to be here for a minute. Okay, let me see what I have. Do I need a snack? I woke up at 10. It's almost time for lunch. So I'm going to keep this going. And I will do my best to explain things as I go.